Hello, everyone. Um, I know that the way the audio stops always catches everyone off guard, including myself. I see everyone in the chat saying hi. I'm so glad that y'all are already tuning in. Really excited for this episode's Open Source Friday. If you're unfamiliar with the show or it's your first time tuning in, Open Source Friday is a time where I chat with open source maintainers or core contributors about their projects, and we learn a little bit about like why they made it and how we can contribute to it. So on one hand, it helps give exposure to maintainers, and then it also helps you gain more exposure into how you can get involved in open source. A little bit before I introduce our guest today, is I want to do a little bit of promo. I'm glad that our this show has gotten to the point that people want to promote their events on here. And give me a second. I'm just going to remove myself just to let you all know what we're going to be having. Oop, wrong one. Uh, I hope that y'all could have heard me while I was doing that. That was my first time removing myself. Let's bring this back. All right. So now that we have that promotion out there, don't forget to join that. Now I'll have our guest for today introduce himself.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
So
I was on mute. Sorry.
yeah,
Before I tried to. Okay, sorry. I will just repeat that part. Sorry, y'all. So basically, that image that I showed earlier. Sorry to interrupt you, Zabi. Is I'm not sure how to have my voice and show that image as well. But basically, there's a panel coming up called Women in Open Source Life Sciences. On that's going to happen March 16th, 2023, from 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And what they're doing is they're having a panel discussion on how the challenges that women face in open source, and also how we can increase open source education for low and middle income countries. So you don't want to miss that. I put the banner below to join. It's https://aka.msaajUnsq. I'll put it again at the end of the stream so people can join in. And I apologize for being mute for that moment. I was hoping it would work. Okay, we'll switch back now to having our guest introduce himself. Sorry.
no worries, no worries. This is, things of doing things in life, All good. So yeah, it's a pleasure being here. Thanks for inviting me. And yeah, I'm Xavi. I'm located in Spain. I'm living between Madrid and Valencia, between those cities. And yeah, I am an open source builder. I build a lot of open source projects. I also write a bunch of articles. I love write, technical technical posts about new things about new technologies, or at least the things that I usually discover. I share my knowledge by writing articles. I am speaker as well. So yeah, I share my knowledge to the community because I think that is important, not only in English but also on Spanish, because yeah, I believe that like all the people uh, should know new things, and the language should not be a barrier. And uh, and yeah, I mean, here in Madrid, I am co-organizer of the Madrid DevOps Meetup, the DevOps Days conference, the DevOps Days Madrid, of course, the Alexa community in Spanish, and also the Google Developer Group here in Madrid. So yeah, a lot of things. And yeah, and I'm also a GitHub star, so that is nice.
Yes, I love. Okay, first of all, yes, you're an amazing GitHub star, and I love that you love to share what you learned through writing. I do as well. Like that's my favorite form of like sharing what I've learned. I know some people prefer video and stuff like that, but I love to write because I think it's something that people can easily go back to. They can search what to find and be able to follow the steps easily. I also love that you make sure that you're doing it in other languages because I agree. Everything code is very, very American English centric.
Yeah.
It's catered towards Americans, but that doesn't mean other people in other countries shouldn't be able to learn that. So I love that you're doing that.
Exactly, exactly. And this is super important because we have like or we may now that or we know that everything is related, to at least for computer science is in English, and we made that as a standard, but like we have to change that and share everything in as many languages as you know.
Yeah, because I think also as more people from different countries and different backgrounds are involved in computer science and in software engineering, they'll be able to influence it. Code doesn't. They'll be able to have like their thoughts and perspectives on like how we can improve things rather than it just being like Americans saying, "Oh, we need to change this. This is how the direction that software engineering should go in." But I can go on a rant about this forever. I do want to know about your project. What is it? What does it do? Give us the details.
So yeah, today we're gonna talk about the Dialogflow CX CLI. So it's a CLI tool built in Golang, full written in Golang. I have to say that if you wanna write CLIs, Golang it's a really good choice. I love Golang, and I think that was a good decision because everything was written in Golang. And yeah, it's a CLI to interact with Dialogflow CX. So Dialogflow CX is a Google Cloud technology, basically a conversational AI technology that we are gonna explain in a bit. But basically, it's a command line interface that you can use in multiple ways. Like for instance, on your pipelines while you are developing your chatbots, your assistants. It's a CLI uh, that was not there, and I thought that I need it, so I create the open source project because at the same time that I needed, probably more developers were needed as well, and that is what I was seeing, like, because there are a lot of users using it. So yeah, that was a need that helped more people.
Awesome. Well, I have a couple of follow-up questions, but I'll just double check that people in LinkedIn, I see them saying that the video is on repeat. I hope they're just in the beginning of the episode, and I hope y'all can still see where we are at right now. Please let me know in the comments if you are able to hear us and you're following us. But my follow-up questions, one of them was, I've never written Golang, and I know this is not on the agenda, but I'm just curious. I've never written Golang. So why is that the best language for you to write a CLI in?
So, because Golang, it has like a really good frameworks and libraries to create CLIs. For instance, Cobra and Viper. Those are the basically the main ones that I'm using, and it is like really easy to use. Like, building the command line interface is just like the thing that you have pretty much automated, in terms of creating, new commands, new flags, these things. And in terms of because, for instance, in this case, the Dialogflow CX has a lot of, as we are talking about a Google technology, Google uses a lot of gRPC projects and gRPC, interactions, and Golang is a really good language to interact with gRPC as well. Uh, because it's from Google as well. It's open source. gRPC, it's a protocol that is open source as well. And yeah, playing with gRPC, playing with the to build the CLIs, and like, because with Golang is, in terms of the language itself, is like you can go as deep as you want, like for instance like C++, but at a higher level, because on C++ we are talking about like 20 years old or 25 years old language, and Golang has the power of going like at that level, like at that low level, but
Yeah.
with the power of like being like you can create, or you can uh, build modern things, modern software.
Awesome. Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. So you're saying like Golang is as powerful as maybe like C++, where it can do low level machine work, but it has more features because it was developed. It's newer. It's a newer developed
Yeah.
language than C++. Awesome. Okay, so I know you said that you built this CLI for making dialog flow easier. Can you explain what dialog flows is for someone who like they're like I have no clue what that is, or I'm not really too familiar with technology and web development. And
Yeah.
I know you had a slide deck, so maybe that would even be helpful as well here.
Yeah, for sure. Let me present my screen. So oh, it's already there. So if you put there we go. So what is Dialogflow CX? Dialogflow CX is basically the conversational AI platform that provides a new way for designing agents or assistant. Okay, so basically, let's start talking about what is conversational AI. So conversational AI is the way that or the technologies that we can use, or frameworks to create interfaces that can speak very close as the human language. Okay, so that is conversational AI, and Dialogflow CX is the conversational AI platform from Google to develop and design uh, assistants. Okay, so that when I say assistant, is something like general, that can be that could be chatbot, that could be like when you are calling customer support, and you say like press one for whatever, press two for another thing, those can be built using the Dialogflow CX, and like WhatsApp bot, SMS bot, even Alexa voice apps, Google Assistant voice apps, those can be built using Dialogflow CX. So that is why I say like assistant. Okay,
Mhm.
and yeah, how is like or Dialogflow 6 is being a game changer, because you are developing your conversations in a more graphical way. Okay, so what you are creating is basically like um flows and pages are like nodes. Okay, so what you are gonna do is or Dialogflow CX is gonna do is interacting as a state machine manager. So what, in a conversation, like let's say that you are here, and then the user interacts or tells to the assistant like I want help. So Dialogflow CX, what is gonna manage is like that will manage that you are here, and it will transition to the next node. Okay, so that is how basically like uh, Dialogflow CX works. Okay, and at any time you can, and inside the Dialogflow CX or inside the execution, you can call a webhook, you can call your backend, for instance, like when you are requesting the weather of Valencia, for example, or the weather of California, you can at any time call a webhook, request, like make that request on your backend, and then uh, get the information to the user. So that is basically what I have here in this slide, which is you have your end user using the inputs that you want, okay, or that you have designed for your assistant. And then the user is going to interact with your client, that could be WhatsApp, whatever.
Mhm.
And then it's going to be Dialogflow CX that is going to make sure that everything, is managing, like it is in charge of the conversation itself. And then the webhook, which is optional, to call the external APIs, database, whatever. So that is how Dialogflow CX works. Okay, and there is artificial intelligence there because we have to input or to introduce NLU. Okay,
Okay.
so what is NLU? The NLU is like, for instance, when you're requesting the information of the weather of Valencia, you can say, tell me the weather of Valencia, or just weather of Valencia, or just Valencia, So that those things, those utterances are requesting the same intent. Okay. So that is what you are going to specify on your NLU. So on your NLU, you are going to have intents with utterances and entity types and parameters. So that is Valencia, which is the variable side of the utterance. Those are entity types. So under your NLU, you're going to have intents and entity types. And that is the thing that we are going to provide to Dialogflow 6 to train our model. So when a user is interacting with our chatbot, for example,
Mhm.
the chatbot will understand that, for instance, that we are requesting the weather and not the weather from everywhere. We're requesting the weather from Valencia specifically.
Okay, awesome. So I will highlight some stuff in the chat just so people can know that we are trying to react to them. So Jared asked, "What is dialogue flow?" We just went over that, but I'll try to summarize it to see if I really understood what you meant, because I love this to be like a learning experience for me as well. And then Richard said, "Ah, so it's like Microsoft Paperclip." So I think so. From what you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, oh, and sorry, someone else also said, is it similar to a user journey, but working a bit like an automation? So from what I understand, like Dialog Flow CX, I think CX stands for customer experience. It's
Yeah,
just the experience of like you being on a phone and like you just said in that example, they're like press one for English, press two for or Spanish, or say one for English or say two for Spanish, whatever. And then they lead you to the next step of the journey, which is maybe like getting your banking information or signing up for something. But you can also have that on a chat bot, like you said. So like let's say you logged into Bank of America or something like that, and a chat bot comes up and you say, I need help. There's not a live person there, but a bot is responding to you using dialogue flow.
exactly,
Okay,
exactly,
cool. So that's what it is. And then I guess you create pages to say once once a user does this or responds in this way, this is going to be the next step. And you also use artificial intelligence to make sure that they understand the user and or the bot understands the user and it's moving to the correct place. That's right?
exactly, exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Cool.
Now
I hope
you
I
are
understood.
now you are a Dialogflow CX expert.
Nice. So now I'm curious, why add a CLI to it? I know earlier you said that was really helpful for you to add a CLI to that part of it. And that's why you built the CLI. And then you were also like, it's probably going to help other people as well. But I don't really get why you will add that.
Yeah, so if you take a look to at Dialogflow CX, Dialogflow CX is mainly kind of visual, like because you have to interact with the canvas that they provide to you to design the conversation. But you can download your project and develop those things, from your Visual Studio Code. And that representation, that canvas, are basically JSONs, objects that are calling one to each other. So there are things that, for instance, like imagine that I don't know, like you have an entity type. There are built-in entity types like cities, like countries, like dates. Those things are built in. But imagine that, I don't know, like you are building your energy, and your entity types are coming from another place, like from another source, and you
Oh,
have to put all those entity types to your Dialogflow CX project. And that is something that without the CLI, without my CLI, you have to do that like manually by going to the Dialogflow CX, going to your entity type, and then imagine that you have a CSV file and then upload your CSV file. With the CLI, you can automate that process. You can
mm,
pull that information, you can like from your source and push that information, and once you push that with the CLI, you can uh, tell Dialogflow CX to train the machine learning model.
gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, thank you. All right. Are you ready for us to show the demo? Because I think a lot of people are curious, like, how is this working? Like, what does this look like? So, are you ready?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I am ready.
let me share your screen again.
Yeah. So another important thing that has this CLI is testing. Okay, because for instance, you can, as I said, you can modify your NLU. Okay, like adding more NL entity types or modifying utterances. And on the Dialogflow CX, you can create tests. Okay, so from a conversation on the simulator. Okay,
Yeah.
here is a conversation that I created. Okay, so imagine that this is a conversation that I want to save as a test. That is something that I can do just pressing here. Okay, sorry, here,
Oh,
save as a test case. So whenever I change anything from the flow and from the pages, from the NLU, from the my intents, my entity types, whenever I change anything, I can go to the CLI and run the test as well.
oh,
Okay, so that is really really useful. And yeah, for folks that are on the live streaming, before moving to the showcase,
yeah.
you can find the Dialogflow CX CLI under my GitHub, which is shabidop/Dialogflow CX CLI. And yeah, and the documentation is under cxcli.shabidop.me. Okay, so you can find there all the information. And there is one thing that I want to showcase with you, which is the NLU profiler. Okay, the NLU profiler is a way to check that the utterances and the intents are the ones that we're expecting always. Okay, for instance, like I have one input, okay, which is give me the weather of Valencia. I want to check that always that whenever I get that input, the intent that is going to be triggered is, let's say, get weather, and the entity type is the city. Okay, so those are some kind of tests that are built under the CLI. So let me show you the how does this work within the CLI. So you have to create suites. The suites is basically you have to specify, like the name of the suite, description of the suite, the Google project ID, the location, because you can deploy or create your assistants in multiple regions, like in Azure, for example, and then the agent name, and then you have to specify the list of tests. Okay, so let's go for the test side, because that is super interesting. So with the test side, um I mean, on the test, you can specify as much test as you want, but for instance here, the test is per locale, so you can have tests, for English, for Spanish, for other languages. And then here you have the checks. For example, the input that we are going to specify is by text. With the CLI, you can specify audio, and that means that what we are going to do is transform that audio into text
Oh,
using the Google Cloud APIs. And then we are gonna validate that. So with the CLI, you can use either or type text or type audio. And for instance, here I want 3 pixels. What I wanna validate is that the intent that is gonna be triggered is the order underscore intent, and the parameter is the number with the value 3. So with that, we are doing our NLU profiling. Okay, for example,
Okay.
which is basically a check, of that our NLU is what we are expecting. Okay, aside of testing the conversation, testing your chatbot, like doing that happy path that you want in terms of your chatbots. So, for example, the text input, well, this is the one that I showed you, but for instance, for the audio, you have to
Mhm.
specify type audio on your test file and then the audio file. So if we run, let me run this. Yeah, I have here. Okay, so basically, well, to install the CX CLI, the CX CLI is available, like in, I think in, mm, if not all of them, but in a lot of package managers like Homebrew, like APT, like APKey, like Arch Linux, Scoop for Windows. What else? Chocolately, Docker. So you can run and execute the CXLI to whatever, and also ARM 64, Linux, Intel 64, like all the architectures is available. So when you have installed that, you can run CXCLI. That does help, and you
Okay.
can see all the things that you can do. Okay, that is, for instance, this is built in with the Cobra and the Viper framework that I told you in Golang.
Okay.
So this is automatically done by that, which is really really helpful. And what we are gonna showcase is the profile dash NLU, which is the test that I showed you.
Mhm.
um, but these are the things that you can do. For instance, the agent. So to check the what you can do with an agent, the agent is the assistant. Okay, it's the root object. What you can do is create an agent. You can delete an agent, export an agent into a zip file, and then restore that zip file in another assistant, in another agent, for example. What are the other things that you can do? Create entity types, as I said in my example. Same for the intent. You can create intents, flows and versions. Exactly the same. You can create flows and with the CLI, and you can create versions from those flows and test those versions that you are creating. So, for instance, let's say that you are, I don't know, like updating your NLU, your entity types, your intent. You can automatically add your flow, create a flow version, and then test that flow version as well. The webhook, you can create webhooks as well. Okay, uh, and I mean, create, update, delete, like all these things are built in. Those things are the things that I'm doing. And I'm using the Dialogflow CX API because that is available and that is super helpful. So and the client. So yeah,
This is cool.
Dialogflow CX has available like their APIs to multiple languages. I'm using Golang, but they have that for Java, for C Sharp, for Node.js, for Python. So yeah, you can check that under the official documentation. And yeah, so let's see the profile NLU, for example. So here,
Yeah. Let's see it
uh,
in.
what we are gonna execute is the test suite that I showed you, the one that is testing the order intent and the
Okay. Is this
and
the one with
the
the pizzas or a
yeah,
different one?
that one,
Okay.
and then the credentials is the credentials that we have to use for the let me put this. There we go. For the to connect to BigQuery. Okay, BigQuery no Dialogflow CX. So if we press enter, what we are gonna check is the suite is the test agent suite, and the test one is, for instance, input text value high, intent detected, high intent. That is good. High intent, but in this case, the audio, okay? And we are sending the audio. I'm gonna show you how looks like this audio. Test two, um, input type text value. I want 3 pixels. Intent detected, order intent, and the parameters is the three and the pizza.
Mhm.
And same, I want 2 cokes. Intent detected, order intent, parameter number with the value 2, and parameter order type with the value coke. So if we go to these examples,
Okay.
this is what we have, which is a suite
Okay.
specifying, like the project ID, the location, and then the set of tests. And then if we take a look to the test one, we are gonna see as an input, we have two as an input text, hello and hi. That
Mhm.
is gonna be triggered our high intent, and then the audio file. Okay, and the audio is over here, so we can play it.
Yeah.
For instance, this
That's
one.
great. Okay.
You see, it's just high. Another cool thing that I added to the CLI, which is really, really cool, is that you can recognize and synthesize. Let me zoom in a little bit the Visual Studio so
Perfect.
people can see it. Yeah. So another cool thing that people can do with the CLI is synthesize and recognize audio. So if you want to create those tests, you can use the same CLI to create audio files and recognize. So for instance, here I have another example, which is STT's speech to text. So for example, what I'm giving is as an input the high MP3. I'm gonna tell the CLI that the locale is English, the United States, and then the output format is JSON, because for pipelines, for example, it is better to have the output format in JSON format. So when we run this, what we are gonna have is, hey, I have a near 80% of confidence that what there are in that audio file, it's high. And
Wow, that's
the other way around, you can, instead of STT, if you run TTS, you will see for instance, let's do hello, and we go here.
so what you just did is you wrote some text and now it converted it into audio, correct?
Exactly. We are
That's
synthesizing this. We are specifying that this is in English US, and then the output is the OMP3. So if we check, we should have here an OMP3, an output MP3. Okay, so we play that.
Hello.
You see
oh,
here?
Hello.
wait, could you, I don't want to put you on the spot, but is it possible to show us it in a different language and not just English?
Yeah, for sure. So if we let's do it in Spanish, for example. So we say hola. I think is yes, yes.
I think so too.
So
It's exciting.
Hola.
you see here?
Hola.
That's cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Hola.
And for this, we are, I am using the Google Cloud APIs for speech to text and the text to speech as well.
That's great. Oh my God. All right. Is there anything else to show us or this was it? This was cool.
Yeah, this is like the most visual things from a CLI perspective.
Awesome. One viewer said, okay, this combines text to speech, which says TTS, just for people who wouldn't know, STT, which is speech to text, and then CX, and maybe also other couple Google APIs from Dialogflow. That is convenient. That's kind of what you just said. This
Exactly.
is really cool. So just making sure, I just wanted to understand some parts of it too. So basically what happens is with these like NLUs, I guess, they're not necessarily looking for the whole sentence, but they might be looking for like a specific word or like you
Yeah,
said,
well, the NLU, what it does is in terms of like it extracts, like the important information from your text, like you have a raw text, and once you run an NLU process, you detect the important words that you wanna extract from there.
Yeah, gotcha. That makes sense. Just like where you had, I want three pizzas. Like if someone was like, I want three pepperoni pizzas, da 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 da. Like it will just be looking for the number three, and then it'll be able to move to the next step. This is so cool that you made this. I love it. Cool.
Yeah, it's open source and it's free, so you can install it and play with it.
Yeah, let me pull up the. You gave us the GitHub link a second ago, so I put it up on the screen, y'all. I can't unfortunately put it in the comments because we have a block on links for the GitHub. But if you do want to check out this project, go to github.com/savvydoc/dialogflow CX CLI. Give it a star as well. That will be like a nice little way to help contribute. Also, I believe you said your documentation and a little bit more about the project can be found at cxcli.savvydoc.me. All right, so this was a great demo. I think I'm going to transition into just talking about your experience as a maintainer and stuff like that, if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Cool. And I'll highlight a couple people. If you have questions, feel free to type them in here. We did have a few before I do that. Somebody was asking like, how's the security aspect of something like this? I'm not sure.
Yeah, like in terms of the CLI itself.
I think so.
Yeah, like I mean, we are interacting with Google APIs, and in terms of the security, like everything is super secure because we are relying on the Google Cloud as a vendor, and in terms of compliance, Google has like all the compliances that are available. Like all the ISO, all the COC, HIPAA, PCI. So yeah.
Awesome.
I'm in terms of the CLI, I'm just calling the APIs and putting like a friendly user interface, to interact with those APIs basically.
Awesome. That's great. Somebody asked, and I already kind of know the answer to this. They said, "Can we make a hands-on lab?" So not during this stream we can't because the way the stream is set up is just more like a demo and understanding what the open source project is. But do you happen to know any places where people could practice using Dialogflow or using your CLI?
Yeah, there are. I have to find it, but there are a lot of collabs. I think they are available under the Dialogflow CX official documentation. So there are some collabs that you can start with, and then with the CLI, you can create like an agent, like a non-production agent, and interact with the CLI as a hands-on, and then use it for your all your agents basically.
Awesome. So go to the official documentation, y'all, find the labs there, and then install this CLI project, and you'll be able to just interact with it, just learn in real time. And then someone also, well, one person said, "Oh wow, this is really cool, helpful." And then another person was asking, "Does this have a Go package?" I think they were asking that when you were like listing the languages
Yeah.
that you supported.
Yeah, so yes, because there is a Go package, and what I was creating at the same time that I was creating the CLI is like a lot of helpful functions. I mean, the Golang client for to interact with the Google APIs are like very easy to use, but I created a package which is I mean, that is being used for the CLI,
Mhm.
that has a lot of functions to make it this even easier. So yeah, that is there as well.
Awesome. Awesome. People said they enjoy your presentation. Someone also asked, we can use this to enhance Telegram bots.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. You have to create like an adapter from Dialogflow 6 to Telegram, but yeah, go for it, and it is really easy to use.
Awesome. Great. All right. So I'm going to quickly move into some of the other questions. And like my first one to you is like, I love to tell people like get into open source, become a maintainer that will help to boost your career. But I also like to be realistic about like the challenges that people face while they're being maintainers. So I'm curious, what challenges have you faced as a maintainer?
So that is being a maintainer. I have to say that it's something that is not easy and that requires time. So the first thing would be when you are not a full-time open source maintainer, you have to deal, with the proper balance from your day-to-day with your job plus maintaining open source project, which is my case, for example.
Yeah.
So that is the most important one. And then the other ones as a maintainer is testing. So when you create an open source project, you want to see test, you want to see, like things that tells you that your software is following best practices. Same with the security vulnerabilities, like add a bunch of security vulnerabilities like code QL, like, like all the code scans that you can add it, because that means that as a maintainer, your code is being secure and following best practices. And then the last challenge is, in my case, is not that case because it's a CLI, it's a client. I don't need to run these things on clusters. But let's say that I am running an open source, I don't know, something in one server. The another big challenge is how to get the money to pay that infrastructure, that server,
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the big challenges. But yeah, it's, I always say that one step at a time, so everything you have to, as an open source builder, you have to create things, believe on the things that you are creating, and then the time will tell you that you like your hard work, like will give you like all the things that you will deserve, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I believe that. I understand that. Like you're saying, it's a hard road, but eventually it will pay off. And I think those are all fair things to bring up. Like there's not a lot of time that you need extra time to build your project on the side. You need help with testing and security vulnerabilities, and then even just the maintenance of the software, like you said, because you're not getting paid to do this daily. So this is that those were really great call outs. My other question to you, though, is what parts have been rewarding to you? What has started paying off for you as an open source maintainer?
Well, the feedback from the users, like, because in my case I created like, like I created I solve a need, so the people, or more people, were, like facing the same issue. So they were very grateful with me, like, oh, thank you, for building this, for, like advocating the tool as well, learning, teaching, building a nice documentation that is easy to follow, which is very important as well as a maintainer. So yeah, but basically the feedback
I
from the
love
user.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I love that. Yeah. I feel like a common theme I always see in open source maintainers is like we like to help and we like to see that it was helpful to people. So when someone's like, "Hey, this was really helpful," you're like, "Yeah, this just made it worth it for me," because I know that what I made is helpful to y'all. My other thought, and I've been asking people this, is like, how can we improve diversity in open source? last month I was asking this to Black maintainers because I noticed there's not a lot of Black maintainers in open source. But also, my it doesn't have to be about Black maintainers. I know you're located in Spain, and I think like globally we don't see a lot of open source maintainers or a lot of people involved in open source that are like based in different countries. So I'm curious on your thoughts.
I am fully agree with you. And for instance, what we should do and what we have to do, better said, is empower. Creating by creating events, supporting like more collectives. Like for instance, right now, when because I am speaker as well, when you apply as a speaker to a conference, there are like a lot of filters to make sure that under the under the main stage all the people has the same opportunities, which is great. And that is something that we have seen and that we are seeing more and more. So I think those things are helping to improve the diversity in open source. And and yeah, I mean, and like, if you know anyone, like, or someone that, like, for instance, like it is under or under an underrepresented group or something, empower him, her, or like, and makes things easier as well, helping them to whatever.
Yeah, I think those are really good points on empowering and the point around conferences as well and showcasing different kinds of people and making sure you support those events. Um, my last well, actually, I have a few more, but my question to you is like, how can people contribute and support your project? Like, what will be most helpful to you?
So for to help this project specifically, there are two ways. The first one is, you can, if you want to add more features, you can just fork the project and create a PR. That is the one way that you can contribute. And the other way is giving feedback. This tool has a Discord server that is under the GitHub repo, so you can join there and give feedback and help troubleshooting. Like, all these things can be done under the Discord server and also on GitHub discussions, creating issues. So those things are really good to keep tracking and keep helping and contributing to this project.
Awesome, awesome. So join the Discord and also create a PR on the repo, and I have the link to the repo below. Do you have any advice? And maybe this is a hard question. I find that sometimes people make open source projects and then they struggle to get people who are also contributing to their projects or sponsoring their projects or even just know about their project. Do you have any advice on what you've been trying to do to get your project more exposure?
So basically, is what I'm doing, for instance, here is advocating your project, believe in your project and what you have built, and that's the main thing. And like, applying as a speaker in conferences to talk about your open source project, creating like articles, blog articles, tutorials that like getting started guides that can help people. So I think those are the main things. Also, if you see that, in terms of sponsors and all that stuff, if you know one company that is using your technology, so you can ping him, sorry, you can ping them and say, hey, hi, I know that you are using that. It could be fantastic if you can sponsor me, because there is time behind every single project. So yeah.
Good advice. Sometimes you just gotta put yourself out there. Sometimes people might be nervous to ask, but the company is making money off of your project, so might as well just say, "Hey, I love that you're using this. how can we make this mutually beneficial? And then I love your advice on writing blog posts and stuff like that. That's something I always encourage open source maintainers to do, because the more blog posts you write or documentation, the easier people will find your project and learn how to use it. Um, Okay, so we will move into, since I don't see any more questions from the audience, I did see people earlier just saying hey to you. I guess these are some of your friends or maybe people that like follow your project, or I don't know.
Probably.
um, so the non-technical questions I want to ask you are, one, what was the first programming language that you ever learned? And I guess this one's technical, but it's not necessarily as
Yeah,
technical.
no. That was Java. At my university, they teach you like well, programming in general with Java as the first one, because it's very easy to understand, easy to start with, because you can just download the Java development kit and you can, start building your Java app. So yeah, that was Java.
Nice, nice. Um, my other question to you is, if money wasn't an issue, how would you spend your time, job wise or not job wise? Like, what would you just want to be doing all day?
Basically, learning new technologies, writing articles about those technologies, creating videos, like courses, free videos, to share all the new things that I'm learning.
Nice. We sound pretty similar. That's why I signed up for this job, because I'm like, all day I could just learn new technologies and write about it or create content around it.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so my other question is like, what's a dream open source project that you would like to create one day? I know you have this CLI project, but I don't know if there's any other that you're like, I really want to create this, but I might not have the time.
So everything related to automation, like any automation project that makes the developer side and the development cycle easier for developers, that would be fantastic. There is one open source project that I would love to start, which is a GitHub Kubernetes operator. So you can deploy or create your GitHub things by deploying Kubernetes resources. So that is one thing that I would love to do, but I don't know when.
Yeah, no, that
Almost
sounds
the same.
cool. Whenever you get a chance to build that, come back on Open Source Friday, because that one
Yeah,
sounds
for
awesome.
sure, for sure.
Okay, if you could eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Well, I think that one is easy, being from Valencia, which is paella. So
Hmm. Yeah.
that one is the best rice dish in the world, as we said.
Yeah, no, even just you saying that, like, that made me hungry. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh my God, I'm hungry. Awesome. Okay, and then other question, do you pronounce the word GIF or do you pronounce it GIF?
I say give.
Okay, nice. Cool. And then last but not least, what is your favorite Beyonce song? If you
Uh,
have.
all, all the single ladies.
Okay, nice.
Exactly.
Okay, this was really great. I will want to end by like saying, how should people follow you? Is it on Twitter or whatever? Do you have any upcoming events that you want them to check out or anything?
Yeah, so they can reach me out. I am very active in Twitter at Shavidop. So yeah, YouTube as well at Shavidop, GitHub at Shavidop, on LinkedIn as well, and on my personal website, which is shavidop.me, is where I usually post my articles in English and also in Spanish. So yeah, that is the place.
Awesome, y'all. So you heard, go ahead and follow him as Shavidop on basically most social media platforms. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I really love the engagement from the audience in the comments. This was great, and thank you, Javi, for just walking us through like how this works and telling us a little bit more about conversational AI and Dialog Flow and this awesome CLI tool that you made. Don't forget, y'all, to go ahead and give his project a star. I'm looking for the banner. Okay, here we go. Don't forget to give it a star. Don't forget to see if there's ways that you can help to improve it by creating a PR, or I think sometimes just using the project is helpful to maintainer as well. So go ahead and install it so that you can be able to give feedback on how it can be improved. Thank you so much, y'all. Have a great Friday. And don't forget, again, there's a Women in Open Source Life Sciences event happening. And I have so much stuff. Okay, cool. There's a Women in Open Source Life Sciences event happening where they're going over like the challenges that women have in open source and how we can help to increase open source in low income and middle income areas. Thank you so much, y'all. I will let you all go now.
Bye bye.